Yudalef Amid Aleph. Mishnah and Yudalef Amid Aleph.
One of mine. What a great inspired me, man.
Careful neighborhood.
Who was your Masada position? Rabbi Menachem.
No, Menachem.
Menachem.
No, M.D. Tandler, the grandfather, the son-in-law of
Right, Menachem.
Moshe Feinstein.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
By the Mishnah.
his beard is black and they let him have
Small, so yes.
Way too small.
no beard.
So, by the way, the last word on the Rashi on Daf Yud, on Daf Yud on Bais. You see the last word? It says Baruch.
Borrow can.
Baruch. I don't know if he's quoting someone. Baruch. I don't know what that word is doing.
Oh, it's hanging there?
It's just. You see that? Okay. We started the Mishnah. Afa Pisha Amru.
So it's not just a mistake there anymore.
No, it's
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes it could be that there was someone that he's quoting, and he says, it's like shame, it's like a signature, like Baruch. Put that comment in. What that would really mean is that it's not Rashi. Maybe Rashi's quoted. Okay, the Mishnah starts like this: Alpha Pisha Amradaya Shaita. Even though we've said that a woman that has a set cycle, it's called the Veses, Isha Shiesh Leveses, is a set cycle. So she's Daya Shaita. If she sees blood, we know that it came at the right time because that's her chazaka that she's supposed to see. We don't assume that it came any time earlier, and the things that she was involved with earlier are all tahar. That's the term Daya Shaita. She's only tummy from then and on. Even though we've said that, but she still needs to do an examination every morning and afternoon, as we're going to explain, because she's going to be involved in taharis. And those things will become impure all the way back until we know, or maybe they'll become impure 24 hours. But in order to save taharis, the more she does examinations, the more it will stop the tumah from going back. So even though the tumah really doesn't go back, but she still has to do this bedika. And who doesn't have to do it? It's whenever you have a rule, you always have exceptions. Chutz min Nidda, except for a woman that's Nidda anyway. She's tummy. She doesn't have to. She's tummy. What's she going to check for? Right? She's tummy. And vayesheves al damtar, a woman that just gave birth, not just gave birth, but she's finished with her days of impurity after the birth, which is either 7 days or 14 days, depending if it's a boy or a girl. And then she has 33 days or 66 days of time that's called damtoya. That's the blood that even if she sees blood, she's still tahar during that time. It's called damtoya. So she doesn't have to do a b'dik either, because what's she going to find? She's going to find blood. That blood is tar. Okay. And also when she has relations, she has to use a cloth. Usually it means before and after. Maybe it means both of them. Remember, we had both him and her. We had the two pshatim before. Chutz mi yesheves al dam tayar, except for a woman that's yesheves al dam tayar, she doesn't need to use that cloth. And also a virgin that she has a certain amount of days, 4 nights, the Gemara says, that it's considered the blood that comes then would only be blood from the virginity. The what's the word for the psulim for the what is that? Hymenal blood. It would be hymenal blood.
Rabbi, I'm sorry. Every day I forget to mention this. Remember days back. To be very quick, we had a case where we talking about the woman who got pregnant but never saw damim, and people ask, how is that?
Right.
So when I was giving my class, I realized the damim is a withdrawal blood. Which means that when the egg wasn't fertilized.
Right.
So then all the stuff there just kind of shreds away, and
Right.
therefore there's bleeding. The ovulation always occurs two weeks before the next period. So if the first period was going to come, hadn't come yet, 2 weeks before that,
It's already
basula
become
had,
pregnant.
so within that 2 period, right,
Right.
she would never have shown blood.
Right,
So
right. Very good.
the answer for that question, famous.
Very good. So it says upamayim trichlius bedekas. They need to check twice. Shachar sabena shmashas, in the morning and in the evening. Ubshashi avers l'shamash space, and also when the shamash space is a term, it means when before relations. Yisrael Salem Kayanais have an extra time to check B'shashi Nechlas B'Shuma when they're going to eat Shuma. And Rabbi Yehuda and Rav B'Shas have Rasan Milachal B'Shuma. This Rabbi Yehuda we quoted once before when we were discussing if it means, if it really means Shuma, because we had a discussion if Tumas Miyes Liyes, if it's Mitamal and Mafreya, Truma, or only Kodesh. Remember we had that statement from Rav Chisda or something.
Yeah.
So we quoted Rabbi Yehuda to discuss. You see, it means Truma because even afterwards it's going to be, it will be Matama back. And then we answered that no, it's talking about the Truma that's in her hands, not to be Matama back. Okay. Chutz min Nidda, we mentioned that even if she has a Veses, she still has to check, but a woman that's a Nidda doesn't need to check. It's a very important Gemara here. During the days of Nidda, she doesn't need a Bedika. This Gemara fits very well according to Reb Shimon ben Lakish, that a woman can establish a Veses during the 11 days after the Nidda. But a woman cannot establish a vest during the days of Nidda. Shaper, then it's going to fit. I'll explain in a moment. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, that says a person can establish a vest during the days of Nidda. Tivdek, she should do a bedika, dilma kavala vest. Maybe she'll establish a vest. Okay. First of all, you have a machlekes, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, they're brothers-in-law, and they're discussing how a woman can establish her cycle, the calendar that she has to mark down. So the way it works is that there's Nidda, then there's Ziva. Nidda is 7 days, and Ziva is 11 days. Nidda is the days that she's normal for her to see, and the Ziva, in the middle of the cycle, there really should be no blood. If she does see blood for 3 days, she's called Ziva. So she has 11 days that it's possible for her to see that blood. Everyone holds that a person can establish everyone. Reish Lakish for sure holds that everyone can establish a vest b'teichemei zivasa. That means that if she sees her on Rosh Chodesh, 7 days is normal for her to see. All of those 7 days is you may need it. From day 8 until day 18 is all days of Ziva. Now, if she sees during that time once, or twice, or 3 times, she becomes a Zava. But let's say the following month again she sees then. And then the month after that she also sees then, let's say on the 15th of the month. So now she's establishing her Veses during the days of Ziva. It's going to switch. That when is the normal time for her to see is on the 15th, not on Rosh Chodesh. So it's going to be a new Kaviyas vest that she's going to switch. What happens like this? Let's say she sees on Rosh Chodesh, and then she sees on the 5th of the month. So all of those days are normal for her to see. So Reish Lakish says there's no Kviyas vest during Yemei Nidda. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says that if she sees on Rosh Chodesh and then she sees on the 5th of the month, so her vestas is going to change from Rosh Chodesh to the 5th of the month. So the Gemara is asking that according to Reish Lakish, we said that a woman that doesn't need to do any bedikas during her Yemei Nidda, we understand why. because there's no kviyas vest. There's no reason for her to do any examinations for the calendar, for her to mark down on the calendar. It's not necessary. She can't be kaveh vest b'mei nidasa. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, that says she needs to be kaveh vest b'mei nidasa. So b'mei nidasa. So she has to do examinations just for the calendar. Chabad has this. Chabad has a different haflaga. The interval that Chabad has for the vestas is not from the beginning of the period to the beginning of the next period. It's from the end of the first period to the beginning of the next period. You know, the Chabad has a different haflaga than they do it differently. The Alter Rebbe has a chiddush that when you count in the calendar, there's one of them is the day you put on the calendar, the day of the month. What day of the month, and then the next month you suspect that. Then there's another one that's called the interval, haflaga.
Right.
So the rest of the world counts from the beginning of the period to the beginning of the next period. Chabad counts from the end of the period to the beginning of the next period. Now the end of the period could be a day, 2, 3 days off. It's different. When is the hefsek tara? That's only after 5 days, right? For whatever reason, the hefsek tara is after 5 days. But if you're counting an interval, you're going to count from the hefsek tara. Problem is the hefsek tara isn't really accurate because it could be she stopped bleeding after the 3rd day instead of the 5th day. So you really have to do a bedika before the hefsek tara to see if to know the right number for the calendar. So follow. Okay.
But in this example in the Gemara, she's on Rosh Chodesh, and presumably she's not doing a bedika. There's no reason to.
Right.
She's not seeing any blood.
Right.
And then all of a sudden on the 5th day,
On the 5th, she sees blood.
sees it.
Right. So we're saying she should have to check for that to make sure, because she would have to put that down as a nucleus vest possibly if it happens 3 times. Rabbi Yochanan answers. Amalach Rabbi Yochanan. I should say it's not Rabbi Yochanan that answers. Rabbi Yochanan would answer you. Amalach, Rashi and Avodah Zarah told us. Amalach means he would. He would say. Amalach Rabbi Yochanan ki amina ana. When did I say that you could be kaveh vest min nidasa hechad chazisim mimayin sasam? That's only if it started off like that. Aval chazisim mayin pasuach layamri, which means like this. She sees. She sees Rosh Chodesh. She sees again Rosh Chodesh. On the 3rd month, she sees on the 25th of the month. And on Rosh Chodesh. Rabbi Yochanan says you kaveh vest for Rosh Chodesh. Why? Because the first 2 times were Mayan Sasam. The first 2 times was the initial sighting of the blood.
I didn't know the last.
So that's when I hold that you have to be suspect to that. But if the first time you saw was Rosh Chodesh, then you saw again on the 5th of the month, and then Rosh Chodesh, and then again on the 5th of the month. So that's called Mayan Pasuach. That's expected to come then. That's not going to count. Okay. Another point over here, Rashi mentions why.
So my Pasuach basically means expected.
Mayan Pasuach means, that it was already opened from before. You see, the Veses is the opening of the Tchilas Ariyah. There's only one problem. If a woman sees on Rosh Chodesh, and then again the following month Rosh Chodesh, then the following month she sees on the 25th of the month, and on Rosh Chodesh. So Rabbi Yochanan says that is a Kviyas Vest. Problem is, one second, the last time it came earlier. She says, the fact that it comes earlier, that doesn't disprove it. That was just because there was extra blood. It came earlier. Damim yiseirim, damim yatiri yitoisuba. Rashi says it was just extra blood, but really we already know.
Wouldn't that apply for after, not before?
Yeah, so it only works if the first 2 were on Rosh Chodesh, and then the following one.
That's a theory of when you see an addition to something. Isn't it like it's a leftover?
But here it's saying that it came earlier.
It's a left first.
They were saying that it was extra, so it came first. There's a machlekes amongst Chabad Paiskim. If let's say a woman sees on on the 10th of the month. So she's expecting the following month, the 10th of the month. So the following month she sees on the 9th of the month, and it continues to the 10th of the month. So what happens to the 10th of the month that was in her calendar? A month later, does she need to suspect that because it was never clean? Or do we say that you only have to suspect it with once, and it's already passed?
You're saying the first month it's the 10th. What's the say again? It's the first month.
It's the 10th.
Next month it's
Next
the 9th.
month she saw on the 9th, but it was still bleeding. She still sees blood on the 10th. So she never cleaned the 10th.
Was her vessus already established?
No, it wasn't
at
an
the time?
established. When it's established, it's different. Talking about a veshenik.
No.
So what happens to that? Do we say that it just came earlier and it's still that's considered like she's maybe if she saw again or she never cleaned it, but that's machlekes in the amongst the Chabad Paiskim. Okay, it goes back to the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe had a chassid, Rabbi Leo Rivlin, that had a strong opinion about this. He wrote about it, and so some of the Paiskim follow what he says, and some of the Paiskim follow what he wrote in the Shulchan Aruch. What seems to be what he says in the Shulchan Aruch. Okay.
So practically, what are we told?
Yeah,
Depends on
whatever
the
you
Rav.
want. Yeah. Just pick a Rav and follow him. Okay. Vayesheves al dam tayar. The interesting thing about that is that if you look into it, one of the early Paiskim and one of the Rishonim that wrote on Nidda was the Rabbi. The Rabbi wrote a sefer called Bali Nefesh. And we have two manuscripts from the Rabbi. And in those manuscripts, he says, that variation of the manuscripts, you'll see that machlekes in there. When you have one time achshash, do you need to suspect it one time, or do you need to be oikerit one time? If you suspect it one time, then once it passes, then it's done. Right. Even if you need to be oikerit one time, you were never oikerit. Oikerit means uprooted. You were never uprooted it. So that's variation in the manuscript. No, the difference is if you saw on the 9th and the 10th, so the following month, it's not there. It's not the time. But you never uprooted it. So that variation is. Yesheves al dam tayar. A woman that's sitting on dam tayar, down over here, or somewhere over there. Yeah. And dam tayar, that's the blood that comes 33 days for a male and 66 days for a girl. After giving birth to a girl, that blood, all that blood is clean. In the olden days, and even the Rambam writes that there were still people that were keeping that blood clean. Today they don't. Today we consider it tamei, but in those days, in the times of the Gemara, and even up until the times of the Rambam, some people were still considering it clean.
When you say that, you mean that they could touch taharas?
No, that they could actually be with their husbands, even though they're bleeding. It was after a birth. After a birth.
Instead of it like today, how we do it.
After a birth, a woman takes whatever it is, 10 weeks or whatever till she recuperates. So all of that time we consider it tamei. And according to the Torah, she's tar. Even though she's bleeding, she's tar. The Torah says she's tar for after 14 days or after 7 days, and male or female, she's tar for 66 days or 33 days. Okay. So, the Gemara thinks over here that a woman that's on dam tayar doesn't need to do a bedika. We're not talking about the woman that's actually during her dam tayar time, because what's the chiddush in that? She's tar. We're talking about a woman that's about to go into that time. Why? Because she's after 7 days from the birth for a male or 14 days for a female, and we're saying that she doesn't need to do a bedika. She doesn't need to examine. Hanichal Rav. We understand according to Rav, there's a famous machlekes Rav and Levi in the third parak. Rav, let's point out Rav. Rav is over here, but Levi didn't make it to the Amoraim chart. He's on the upper chart. He's on the All Stars. He's on the Tanaim chart. So Rav and Levi. So machlekes Rav and Levi. If we say that the blood that comes from the birth from the dam tayar, if it's the same source of blood, if it's the same source of blood as the dam nida,
There's like 100 years difference between them on the chart.
It's not Rav.
75, 3950
Uh-huh.
by Rav, and then
I'll tell you. It could be that Levi was much Levi was probably much older.
Oh wait, here.
Because Levi was already sent as to be a rabbi in the days of Rabbi. And Rav was just a young student in the days of Rabbi. Rav was a young student by Rabbi.
Yeah, 3950.
Rav got smicha from Rabbi. The Gemara Sanhedrin says we refused to give him smicha in Bechiras, but he gave him smicha in Yara Yadin. Okay, so it goes like this. Yeah, we just say Yara, but the Gemara was the question. Rabbi was asking Rabbi Yara, and he said Yara. So Hani Chal Rav, it works out well according to Rav. Damar Mayan Echadhu Hater Timatav Hater Taharte Shapir. Rav says that all the blood that comes from the woman is all from the same source. And that being the case, why is the first 14 days Tameh and in the next 66 days Tahar? It says, because the Torah says, the timing. It's all timing. It's nothing to do with the different blood. It's exactly the same blood, and it's all timing. That's Rav's opinion. So, according to him, you don't need to do a bedika to see if she's bleeding on the 14th day to make sure it's stopped, to be able to enter into the new type of blood on the 15th day, which is the first of the 66 days. You don't need to do that because automatically it switches over. It's the same source, and the Torah says it's tar. But according to Levi, that says it's two different faucets inside the woman, two different sources of blood. And so therefore, one has to stop and close, and then the other one can open. So he would say, Tivdoik, Dilmakati Leipasaka Humayan Tame. Maybe the blood from the Mayan Tame didn't stop, and if it continues to flow from the 14th day into the first of the 66, it's still tameh, according to Levi. So she should have to do a bedika to make an examination to make sure. It's a big difference in halach. Amalach Levi will tell you Hamani Beis Shammai. Levi will say we're following Beis Shammai. The Amri Mayan Echad. He says, yeah, I know there's an opinion. It's Beis Shammai's opinion that holds that. And so therefore, this mission is following Beis Shammai. I don't hold of that. We go like Beis Eily. Okay. The Gemara asks, is that someone Tanaka Beis Shammai? The Tana gives a Stam Mishnah, like Beis Shammai. Stam Mishnah means that's the halacha. An anonymous Mishnah. It doesn't even tell me that it's Beis Shammai. If it wants to tell me an opinion that it doesn't want to accept, it tells me the name next to it. And then you can figure out that from the name that we don't paskin like that. So the Gemara answers yes. Stam b'achakach machlaikisu. This is a stam, and afterwards a machlaikus. Anonymous, and afterwards an argument. The way it works is like this. If Rabbi, who organized the Mishnayos, puts a machlaikus, this opinion says this, and that opinion says that, and then later on he writes an anonymous Mishnah going like one opinion, that means he's paskening like that, and that opinion that's now anonymous. He chose one of them to be the halacha. But if he does it the other way, he writes an anonymous Mishnah, then afterwards he puts a machlaikus. He says, by the way, what I told you before is not 100% because there's a machlaikus about it that don't pasken like it. So this is a stam, and then there's a machlaikus afterwards, so it's not a problem. Yeah. So a stam Mishnah is Reb Meir, but what it means for us is like this: that if Rabbi wants to pasken like Reb Meir, Reb Meir's language was the one that Rebbe chose the most often. They had notebooks and they had different sayings. Reb Meir's language was the one that Rebbe chose if he didn't say anything else. Now, if he wanted to say that that's the way he wants to follow, then he would put it as a stam. If he wanted to reject it, he would say Reb Meir's name. He would say Reb Meir, and then you would have the other opinion there to know. So if he puts a stam, and then he puts another name, Reb Meir, he says, the Mishnah says this, and then Reb Yehuda says that, when there's no name on the Tanakama. So then that would be that he's calling it a stam. You see, there's two types of stam. because that's a machlekes. That's a stam mishnah which we attribute to Reb Meir, but it's not a stam mishnah that means stam versus machlekes. Stam over here means there's no machlekes. Sasam means he doesn't tell us the other opinion. There's two types of stam.
There's three types.
Okay.
Sefer stam.
I'd give you a truth if I had one, baby.
Riba Yesema. Another teretz. Miktani mevakeshes leishev. Are you talking about a woman that is about to go into her dam tayar? No. Yesheves ktani. She's already in her dam tayar. There's no problem. We misread the Mishnah to thinking it's talking about before she gets into the dam tayar. No, it's talking about she's in the dam tayar. The Gemara says 1 second. Yesheves ma'ila meimra. The reason why we read it like that was because there's no chiddush to say if the woman's tahar is going to tell me if she has to do bedikas, what's she doing bedikas for? It says, "Ma the tema tivdik dilma kavala vest." No, I could have thought that she's kaveya vest. She's establishing her calendar. She's tahar entirely, but the calendar is still there. Kamash malan d'mayin tahar l'mayin tamei lekava. It's coming to tell us that even though she's seeing blood and that blood is tahar, and we could think that maybe the calendar is she still has to check the calendar, but the blood is tar. We say that no. We say that we check only for the calendar. We say that no. You don't establish a calendar from Mayan tar to Mayan Tamei. Umar says, "Hanichala Levi damashnei mayanasein." I can understand according to Levi. He says there's two different sources, so then you're not going to change. You're not going to establish a calendar. The source of blood for the dam tayar is different for the source of blood for the for regular dam nida. Ela Rav dam ramayan echadu, but according to Rav that says that it's one source of blood, so tivdik dilma kavala vest. She should maybe be able to establish a vest if it's the same source. The Gemara says afilu hachim mi tara li tuma like kava. Even according to Rav, you don't establish a vest from tara to tuma. There's a levush in Hilchas Nidda that he learned this machlekes. Rav and Levi, that it's the difference between dam nida and dam ziva. And all the paiskim, they make such a big deal. That's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says the machlekes Rav and Levi is not about nida and ziva. It's about nida and leida. That's a machlekes if it's two sources. Nida and ziva is all one source according to everyone. It's nida and leida, the blood of the birth.
When the woman gives birth, if that blood does not make her neither.
The first 14 days for a girl are tamei, and the first 7 days for a boy are tamei. After those 14 days or 7 days, then there's either 66 days for the girl, or 33 days for the boy that are dam tayar. She's tamei.
But are you asking?
See, originally in those days, what they would do is they would do a hefsek tara. After 14 days, let's say for a girl, they would go to the mikvah, and then next 66 days, even if she's seeing blood, they can be with the husband.
When she does the hefsek tara, does that have to be clean?
Yeah, according to we just learned according to Levi, it needs the one faucet needs to turn off, and then start the other one. According to Rav, it wouldn't have to be. It's automatic, and probably not. Maybe according to Rav, she doesn't even need a hefsek tara.
Right, so
We'll see in the third
So
paragraph.
what did we keep on referring to about dam leido? It didn't make her tamei, like the last few pages.
Oh, she doesn't make her a zav, a zoiv. What we said is if a woman sees 3 days during her yemei ziva, so she has to bring a carbon afterwards because she's tamei. But if all of those days was she had labor pains, then we say that blood, even though it's during the time of the month that she would normally be a zava, because it's during those 11 days, but because she's giving birth, it's not the zava blood, it's the birth blood. Okay. She has to do an examination before she's with her husband. Tanan Hassam was taught there. A girl that's not old enough to see Vinicius, but she gets married. Bishame says that she has 4 nights that she can be together with her husband even if she's bleeding. And we say that it's the hymenal blood. Until it heals. It means until the blood stops from relations. Blood stops. Then after that, she sees blood. Then it's a problem. Amar Rav Gidel Amar Shmuel. We had yesterday Rav Gidel Amar Rav. We have Rav Gidel Amar Shmuel. Leishanu.
So
Have
it's
to
him
mark
making
that down.
So it's him making a statement in the name of someone.
Yeah. He heard it from Shmuel. Leisha, it's not so common. Rav Gidel Amar Shmuel. Rav Gidel Amar Rav is very common. He's under Rav, right? He's under Rav, correct?
He's
Well,
relatively
sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
closer to Rav than Shmuel,
Okay.
but he's near Rav.
When I read it, Rav Gidel, I'm expecting to see him a Rav, and actually to say Rav Gidel Amar Shmuel makes me feel like I'm saying south and north. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's like a natural way. You say north and south. This is like, you know, east and west. West and east. It's like it goes against your. Okay. Rav Gidel Amar Shmuel says, "Leishanu ela shlei paska machmas tashmish v'rasa shlei machmas tashmish." This Mishnah was only taught that she needs to do examination. If she's still seeing blood, Now, this Mishnah that we just quoted says that she has 4 nights, or she has until it stops. Until it heals. This is only if every time she has relations, she sees blood. And then she sees